why is this so painful for people? Why is picking all these different insurance plans, why is using them, why is this so painful for people? The tech scene in New York, or Silicon Alley, as we call it, has never been more boisterous. If you don't understand someone across their health life, across their wealth life, how can you personalize? How can you consumerize? How can you engage?
Sina Chehrazi is an entrepreneur and business executive with experience across various stages of the entrepreneurial process. Cena serves as the founder and CEO of Naya, a platform that uses AI and data science to personalize the way people choose their benefits.
What I share with our team anytime someone new joins is you can't even begin to solve for how we're going to improve healthcare if you don't watch how the money flows.
After graduating from Georgetown's McDonough School of Business and Georgetown Law, Cena began his career as an attorney and member of the New York State Bar. Since then, Cena has been actively involved in building and scaling healthcare data technology businesses in New York.
You're able to move a lot more customers into that innovator bucket if you give them the confidence, the peace of knowing what they're investing in, and you're genuine with them.
If you enjoy the show, please hit the subscribe button. Now, let's listen in as Gary speaks with Cena about genuine leadership.
Well, good morning, Cena, and welcome.
Good morning. How are you, Gary? It's wonderful to be here.
Well, we're glad to have you at this microphone. I think we both agree that leadership is fundamental to a successful venture. Let's kind of drop back in your life. What did the young Cena think about leadership?
Sure. So candidly, growing up and being able to watch different leaders in my life, whether they were sports leaders or business leaders or anything else, um, I had such a different impression than I do today. They were sort of infallible and perfect and knew everything. They were different, if you will, and being able to lead Naya on this journey and grow up with the company. You start to realize that leaders are just like the rest of us with their own flaws and oversights and challenges and abilities. And I can say that growing up, I was always enchanted by leadership. And now being an adult, it's one of the greatest gifts one can be given, but it comes with a lot of responsibility as well.
Looking at it today versus when you were a younger person, what are the main skills to a successful leader, do you think?
In my view and in my experience, the most important quality of a leader is to be genuine. To be genuine in your approach, genuine in working with others, genuine in sharing your thoughts and your answers. There are so many different ways to be a leader and to succeed, but for me, really, the common denominator is how genuine are you being with yourself, with your customers, with your team, and everyone around you.
Well said. Well, Naya is in the healthcare business, generally speaking. We'll get into that in more depth in a moment. But I know your father was a surgeon. Did that kind of set the seeds here for your interest in healthcare?
Yeah. Well, absolutely. Even if I didn't realize it at the time, I grew up. My father was and actually still is a very passionate neurosurgeon who just can't quite let brain surgery go. And I thought it was normal as a kid, coming down in my pajamas or whatever it might be, and there'd be note cards on the kitchen counter that would say, Dr. Chehrazi, thank you for saving my life, or thank you for caring. And
Yeah.
as I got a little older, I started to realize that was not just like normal life, and
Yeah.
I was shocked. I remember sitting in this sort of swivel chairs at the nurse's station, waiting for him while he'd do rounds, and or sitting shotgun when we were driving back home from the hospital or around town, and he was on calls. It really affected me. Um, just how painful healthcare is, and it's painful when you're sick, or when something unexpected has happened to you. It's also really painful when you're healthy, and it's painful for patients. It's also really painful for providers. I mean, I can still remember calls of about moving a patient from one location to the other, or their records, or whatever it might be. And that stuck with me. I ended up interning at the hospital, my first internship as a freshman in high school, and of course I couldn't quite survive in the emergency room, unfortunately. So they moved me to the welcome desk, which was a very gracious thing to do. Uh, and all of these experiences around healthcare as like an innocent bystander, if you would, really just um, they impacted me in a big way. And even though it wasn't some master plan to end up in healthcare, it's funny how these things go, I suppose.
Yeah, it sure is. But at any rate, I think it's a great background that you've got. And we're thankful you are in healthcare, by the way. So, in terms of education, got your MBA, you pursued a law degree. Why did you pursue the law degree?
Well, the real story is because I couldn't become a doctor and I had to do second best in Persian culture. But the longer version is, I mean, I was always so intrigued about how many different ways there are to think about a problem, how many different arguments can be made around what is the truth and what is accurate. And I went into law school, uh, not entirely sure whether it was something that I wanted to, law was something I wanted to practice, but I knew that in this world that's sort of turning faster and faster than ever before, with bigger and more complex challenges than ever before, I felt that getting my law degree would give me the training to be able to see both sides of an issue and also think critically about how we can improve, in this case, healthcare in the US.
Hmm. Yeah, I know as an entrepreneur, there were many times that I wished I was a lawyer in terms of reading contracts and structuring deals and so on. Have you found your background in law to be helpful as you've grown, Naya?
Absolutely. I mean, every day, and increasingly so as time goes on. Um, and it's little things. I mean, I'll be very genuine about it. As a startup, as an innovator, you're growing, you are challenging the status quo, and as a lawyer, your role is to mitigate risk through documentation and the like. And so, I think some of the ways, especially early on, as much as I've got like the best legal team ever, but like, hey guys, we're gonna be cool with that. We're gonna accept this risk. We're gonna push forward. We're working with a counterparty who's about a $50 billion company. We're still starting out, and so like that sort of intuition helps you a little bit. And then as time goes on, it's funny as the company gets bigger and bigger. Um, there is just a lot of administrative work and reading that has to happen, and it's not just filings like it might be as a lawyer, but how do you actually read something at pace and get to the core of it? And they make sure you learn how to do that when they kill you with torts and contracts and property law textbooks. And so I'm so grateful that I was able to have that opportunity. And look, education has gotten so expensive in this country. I think that's a conversation for a different, but I think I
Right.
feel very lucky that if anybody could have that opportunity, um, it's an incredible gift.
Well, we'll be knocking on your door next time we review a contract here for your advice and counsel, Sina. Well, we've referred to Naya several times. Let's dig in. Can you describe Naya for us, please?
Absolutely. Naya is a software and data company that works for employees, for everyday people, and it helps them with choosing the right benefits for themselves, their families. It helps them with using the right benefit at the right time the rest of the year, and it does that as the world turns proactively 365 days a year. We were started in 2019, and over the last 4 years, we've been able to grow to serve about 100 leading employers, and we are approaching this year 1 million lives that we will serve when it comes to helping people choose and use their different health and health related benefits.
Can you describe, Sina, the evolution over the last 4 years of Naya and its products and services?
Absolutely. And if I could do it in one sentence, it would be meet the market where it is today, not where you think it should be. So really early on, Naya means renewal or a new approach. And we were designing the structure for the company and we said, why is this so painful for people? Why is picking all these different insurance plans? Why is using them? Why is this so painful for people? And everybody had a different answer, but my answer is, and it's somewhat nuanced, but all of the data that matters in healthcare lives together in exactly zero places today in 2023. I mean, can you believe it? I mean, if we think about internet companies to have built just a, I mean, I'll reveal my biases here, but an unconscionable amount of value. They built what I call closed consumer data loops, the cookie. Hey, you like this blue shirt? You may like this blue hat. You like this season of White Lotus? You might like something else. You read this article on Google News. You like, they're tracking and they understand you across your entire digital world. And because of that, they can say, hey, you'd be interested in this, or you should buy this, or anything else. It's proactive, it's personalized, it's easy. When it gets to the real world, healthcare, retirement, I mean, all the sort of stodgy industries that are desperately in need of innovation, as I said, that data lives together in exactly zero places. And if you don't understand someone across their health life, across their wealth life, how can you personalize? How can you consumerize? How can you engage? So in the early days, we spent all of our time just saying, let's get all the data in the same place. Let's connect people's claims information. Let's connect their RX. Let's connect their financial accounts. And then we're going to let the world of developers build all these cool consumer applications that can consumerize healthcare. And that's when we started developing software applications that could sit on top of our data and help people. And hey, you and your family have spent $7,462 out of pocket on healthcare in the last year. Your mortgage is as follows. The prescriptions you take are trending in this cost. Okay, pick this plan, pick this plan, pick this one. Don't pick this one. Here's the data to show you why. And then the rest of the year, let's make sure we are following through the right way all the way until next year's plan selection. Let's learn from that too.
But what is the next steps if we were to come back a year from now? Where would Naya be at that point?
Yeah, totally. As long as you won't hold me to it, Gary. But we're working on something. We're working on something very innovative. It's keeping me up at night in the best way. In my incredibly biased opinion, we've become the best at helping employees with picking the right selection of plans for themselves. We've also done incredible work with helping them navigate all of their different benefits that they offer. And it's not perfect yet, but we have a foundation. Today in 2023, as the world turns, we have now reached a new level of pain in this country. Starbucks is spending more money on health insurance than they are coffee beans. For every new vehicle that General Motors is manufacturing, there's a higher cost of healthcare in that car than there is steel. Um, ExxonMobil is going to spend more on health benefits this year than global R&D. Um, I mean, costs have been rising for a while. That's kind of an old story, but just, I mean, even 10 years ago, we weren't talking about this level. It's anti-competitive for US businesses, and analytics has not taken hold yet. And so if you think about an operating system for benefits for these companies, you would want to be able to influence and help employees and their behaviors in ways that are efficient, optimizing engagement, improving utilization, driving ROI. You'd also want to be able to see at the aerial level, um, what's going on. Are people in the Northeast getting hit with out of network claims? How's the utilization of our new MSK solution? What are the gaps? And so because of the infrastructure we've built, we can connect so many incredible sources of data into one way and help CFOs, CHROs, heck, even CEOs uh, understand, bring a lot of this spend out of the cave and into the light, so that these companies that are now all healthcare companies, whether they like it or not, can actually drive change finally. And we couldn't have done that without a lot of the data innovation that's happened already, regulatory innovation that's happened already, and now's the time.
What about your go-to-market strategy? How do you think about that?
hmm So we have a dual go-to-market strategy. For employers of 5,000 employees and above, we have what's called like a direct sales motion. These employers are so complex, their schemes are so complex, it requires a highly consultative approach to be able to help them start to understand where all the low-hanging fruit is. And there's a lot of low-hanging fruit. I mean, the Chamber of Commerce came out with a report at the end of last year. The average large employers is getting a 53% return on investment on their benefit spend. So let's just take a pause here. Let's say you're a 10,000 person company benchmark in the United States. You're probably spending between 200 and $250 million a year on benefits in these schemes. So
Yeah.
almost $250 million. And now you're getting a 53% ROI. In what other parts of our business would we ever accept a 53% ROI? I'm
Right.
not sure. And so, there's just a lot of low hanging fruit. And then for small, we do believe that, firmly that small businesses, small and medium size, have many of the same pain points. In that segment of the market, we do a lot of channel distribution through our really close partners like ADP, as an example, who have done such an incredible job building a system of record for the employer. And the same way we've seen this all over software the last 10 years. These systems of record get built, and the ones that dominate, like take a Salesforce, like a CRM, they integrate these systems of influence, they call it, within them. We're going to see that in HR technology the next 10 years, the same way we've seen that in pretty much every SaaS-based ecosystem over the last 10 years.
Well, we've talked about Nayya's products and services and how that's evolved. We've talked about your go-to-market strategy. What about Naya in terms of its financing? How have the financing rounds laid out over the last 4 years?
Luckily there are a lot of people in Silicon Valley who are now aware of this challenge and seeking to fund the future of healthcare in a way that 5, 10, 15, 20, and 25 years ago was not happening. On our end, we ended up raising a pre-seed, a seed, a Series A, a Series B, and a Series C, all in about 24 months, which sounds like a lot, but we were just focused on the growth. And what I've learned with the Silicon Valley is that if you focus on the growth, the capital will follow.
What about the board of directors? How do you think, Cena, about recruiting board members? What types of people do you want on the board?
So, as you're building a venture, you're absolutely going to have your venture capitalists who are going to take board seats. In my personal view, after the company gets to a certain point, you're really going to want to bring on ex-operators, people who have lived in the trenches, gotten the bloody noses, made the mistakes, prevailed, because they're going to understand not just your industry, not just what different businesses go through, but the idiosyncratic parts of company building in totally different ways. I'm super fortunate. Our independent director is Frank Williams, who formerly led the advisory board in Evolent Health and a lot of different companies.
Yeah.
And I can actually think of very few people in my professional life who have had an impact on me in that way, in terms of growing, in terms of learning, in terms of listening, in terms of understanding. An incredible, an incredible independent board member can, in my opinion, change the entire CEO trajectory.
Yeah, he's terrific. So you're right. I mean, it's just great to have him. So first time CEO, I would imagine, looking back at the last 4 years, what have you learned about being a CEO?
Best case scenario is you're in a room where you're pretty much the best at nothing, um, and that's a goal, because you and I imagine, even sometimes maybe even me, like, you start to feel insecure about that. Well, then what value am I adding? And as the CEO, the value you add is singular obsession over the company and its impact. And that itself is an incredibly difficult skill to look at things objectively, consistently. So I'd say, find great people, empower them, and then also the other thing that I've learned over the years as well is that um, never get too high, never get too low. It's yeah, you are 100% guaranteed on Monday morning at 9 a.m. before the week is over that you're going to get bad news, and you're going to get it because it's your job to get it, and usually it's 100% true. You're going to get good news too, and take the wins in stride, knowing it's part of the process. Take stock in them because that's important, and accept the losses, and more importantly, take the learnings from them. And that's way easier said on a show than it is living in practice. And I don't want to think or share that I've mastered that, but it's a muscle, just like anything else.
This has been a great interview, Cena. Thank you for your time. One last question, if I could. And you've really covered this a little bit in our discussion, but let me ask directly, what advice would you give to a young person who came to you and said, Cena, I'm thinking about starting my own company? What advice would you give that person?
Obsess over the problem. The how might change. The who will change. The why will sort of titrate. But, if the problem is big enough and you feel like you understand it well enough, at least better than most others, everything else should work itself out. And don't be afraid of failure. Um, Courage comes in many forms. There are many, many, many more people who have done way, way, way more courageous things than I have. Um, and and go for it. It's the first step that's the hardest, and most often, with some exceptions based on life and situations and where you are, most often the worst case scenario is you end up right back where you were right at the start. And so, the world needs you. That's what I'd say.
Good advice, Cena. Thank you. We appreciate your time today.
Thank you so much for having me, and congratulations on everything. Thank you, Gary.